Tanya, and many thanks for the audience and the committee. So I will give a round update about the safety of paclitaxel in the treatment of femoropopliteal disease. So the DCB has been proven to be very effective through numerous RCTs and meta-analysis with superiority of DCB over plain balloon in patients with peripheral arterial disease. Many RCTs have proven that, including Katsanos himself, and they all concluded that TLR is lowest with paclitaxel-coated balloon and paclitaxel-eluting stent, and the vascular restenosis is much lowest with paclitaxel-coated devices. However, the vascular world was shocked in 2018 with the publication of Katsanos meta-analysis showing that there is increased mortality risk and rate with using paclitaxel-coated balloons through studying the meta-analysis and RCTs. This initiated lots of reaction, and Thomas Zeller and his group looked into more than 1,500 patients who had DCB in more than 1,000 patients and Popa balloon in 500 patients, and multiple other patient cohorts, and they concluded that there is no mortality signal, and actually there's equivalent or even significant better survival with paclitaxel-coated devices. They looked into that dose effect and whether the dose has any effect on this, and again they did not find any signal of increased mortality with the dose of paclitaxel. They published their work in 2021, and they concluded that the real-world retrospective analysis and the long-term didn't show any long-term mortality correlated with the paclitaxel-coated devices. They concluded that there is no increased mortality, and there is actually a negative association between the dose and mortality. However, they emphasized about the lessons that need to be learned, including the responsibility of the editors of the scientific journals about the accuracy of the data and the statistics provided to them. Another part of the world in the States, and after the FDA joined with the industry, and they created an independent steering committee of Peter Schneider, Bill Gray, and Sahel Parekh to look into the meta-analysis and the RCTs of the FDA-approved paclitaxel-coated devices. They included more RCTs, including the Ranger SFA and Ranger SFA2. They included more patient years of follow-up. They included more detailed analysis and, again, the dose of the paclitaxel. They looked into all the RCTs and meta-analysis available, all approved by the FDA, and even included the trials initiated before 2019 and even till time of reporting in 2022. They included all types of analysis, including intent to treat, as treated with late crossover, and as treated with crossover and time varying covariates. They concluded in the intention to treat that there is no mortality signal associated with the paclitaxel-coated devices. They also looked at that on the Kaplan-Meier for 5 years, and again, they did not find any mortality signal. When they looked into all sets of analyses, they did not find any signal of mortality again in multiple ways of analysis. They looked into the dose, and again, they could not find any relation between the dose and the mortality. However, they looked into the length of the disease as well, and whether increase the length of treated segment can lead to any signal of mortality, and again, they could not find any signal of mortality. I'm sure many people are familiar with this graph, which was first published in the original meta-analysis. However, they increased that to 2023, and again, they could not find any related significant mortality association with paclitaxel. They looked into 5 years, and they had available data up to 95% of the patients, and they found that there's consistent lack of paclitaxel mortality signal across all sets of analysis. They accounted for all covariates, and they did not even find any signal with the dose. So what about the effect of the paclitaxel controversy in the use of paclitaxel-coated devices. Another group in the States looked into how the controversy affected the use of paclitaxel and the outcome of patients. So they looked into before 2019, and they found that paclitaxel-coated devices were the preferred method of use in patients with PAD, and you can find that the DCB has been rising. After the controversy, they looked into more than 600,000 patients between 2016 and 2023, and they found that the plain balloon was the most used. However, DCB was very close to it. After the publication of the meta-analysis and after the FDA restricted the use of paclitaxel-coated devices, they found that there is significant reduction in the use of DCB, was increased in POPA. However, the drug-eluting stents remained the same. They looked whether COVID could have affected this, and they could not find any effect of COVID. And after the publication of the full meta-analysis and the RCTs and the FDA changed their stand, they found that there is increase in the use of DCB. What about the procedures and the amputation rate? They found that overall the femoropopliteal procedures have declined after the publication of the first meta-analysis, including even surgical revascularization. However, the major amputation remained the same. When they looked into whether the amputation and mortality has been affected by the restricted use of paclitaxel drug-coated devices, they found in more than 275,000 patients that overall all risk of major amputation and mortality was higher after the paclitaxel were restricted. They thought that COVID may have played a role in this, so they adjusted the results for COVID, and they could not find any relation of COVID, which means that the restriction of paclitaxel-coated devices increased the amputation rate and unfortunately increased the mortality rate. So they concluded that the meta-analysis and the restricted use of paclitaxel did cause harm to the patients because the less durable option was used, which led to recurrence of the disease and re-intervention rate. The amputation and death were higher than prior to the restricted use of paclitaxel, and the patient increased economic burden has increased. However, they found that restricted use did do some good because that restricted use brought all the vascular world together, and they emphasized the effect of good data set. They used another non-paclitaxel therapies like sirolimus, and they increased the collaboration with the FDA. So in July of this year, last year, the FDA changed the stand, and now they suggest using the paclitaxel. What about the MHRA in the UK? Again, they changed their stand, and they withdrawn the advice about not using paclitaxel in patients with peripheral arterial disease, and even now they reverted back to the usual advice of treating patients with peripheral arterial disease using paclitaxel, including claudicants. And again, they withdrew the advice about more follow-up, and they reverted back to the usual follow-up. So in conclusion, there is no evidence of increased mortality with paclitaxel use. The authorities have changed their advice, and now it is available to use in claudicants and CLTIs. However, this controversy has caused some damage to the patients irrespective of COVID. Thank you.